In 1949, Martti Kemppi and his brothers founded the welding company Kemppi in a city called Lahti in Finland. After almost 70 years of building expertise within DC power supplies in the welding market, Kemppi thought they could use this knowledge and have an upper hand in DC fast charging and established Kempower in 2017. Since 2017, Kempower has grown to become the leading manufacturer of DC chargers in Europe and has more than 10,000 chargers in 50 countries worldwide. Living in Norway, I have used Kempower chargers more times than I can remember over the past few years. And in my own experience, they make some of the most reliable DC fast chargers out there, and there is a reason for this. Because compared to other DC fast chargers, Kempower DC fast chargers are fundamentally different in the way they work and operate. In this video, I visit Kempower's HQ and their factory in Lahti in Finland and find out why they are so different. Could you please just explain what we're looking at here? Because I think this is the unique thing about Kempower, your satellites.
One of those, for sure. Okay, yes, so here we have the satellite. Satellite is the dispenser for the charging. In our case, it is separated from the actual power unit, you can see over there.
So this is a power unit
Yes.
full of charging modules.
Yes.
Usually this and this are contained within the same cabinet, is that correct?
Yes, that's the total system. So a separate power unit. One of these units could have up to 4 50 kilowatt power modules, and in addition to that, you could have 3 of them in parallel.
Yeah.
Yes, and with the power unit, you would need a dispenser. In our case, we call it satellite, as we can see here. So this is the small footprint needing dispenser, which could be located for any parking lot or anything like that.
Yeah, so this is usually, just so the viewers are very clear, usually the dispenser is connected to the power modules. And this is one unit. These are the big cabinets you usually see at charging stations around the world. But what is different about Kempower is that the modules and the dispenser are separated. So this can be located at one place on a charging location, and then this can be located wherever, like in different
Yes.
charging bays.
Yes.
It's very flexible.
It is flexible. Of course, there are certain limitations. So the maximum distance between power unit and the satellite is 80 meters.
80 meters.
80
Yeah.
meters,
Yeah.
80 meters. But what is more unique in our case, you said about the connection between the power unit and the satellite. In our case, the power modules, they are not fixed to any specific charging cable. But all the power available, of course, restricted by the cable capability or ability to get the power. We can utilize optimal way the power we have in stack. So actually, just below the modules, which you could have up to 4 of them, we have a dynamic module, which is the hardware making the dynamic load balancing possible.
Yeah,
Which
so that's the word I think I was going to ask you. This is dynamic load balancing, and that means the power that you see here on screen, 225 kilowatts, or this one over here, 400 kilowatts. If this was a traditional, like a charging module with a cable, you would be limited to that power to this. But here, you're just requesting from the power modules in the separate cabinet, and this whole charging system is doing the load balancing automatic, right?
automatically, and even during the charging session.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. So once the car starts to, fill its battery and require less. So for example, you say 50 kilowatt modules, and then 4 of them, so 200 kilowatts each. So it can just step down the power.
Yes.
And then if there are we only have 2 of these satellites here.
Yep.
But usually these are 3 or 4, or even some places in Norway we have like 16 and 18. And then it can just share and adjust up, and it's really efficient for the customer.
It
charging,
is.
Right?
It is, yes. You are exploiting in an optimal way the power you have. So there isn't any reserve power reserved for certain EV, while the other one doesn't get it.
Yeah. Which is usually how it works when you have the traditional charging cabinet. So there's the question I want to ask you before, and we haven't prepared anything yet. We just started shooting here. 225 kilowatts for this one, and this says 400 kilowatts. So what's the difference? Is it like cable thickness or cooling or?
The later one. So the cooling, as you can see here, over here, at the side of the actual satellite, we have a separate unit. It's a liquid cooling unit.
Okay.
So this is a liquid cooled version of our satellite. So by doing this, we are able to reach constantly 500 ampere.
Yes.
The dry ones, the air-cooled ones, the maximum is 300 amperes.
300 amps.
Yeah.
Okay. While editing the video, I realized that our point wasn't coming across as clearly as I wanted to illustrate why Kempower chargers, the way they build their charging sites, is so unique and special and different from every other manufacturer on the planet. So these are your traditional chargers, right? These are your big cabinets that you see at charging locations around the world. And just say for sake of argument that this is 200 kilowatts and this is 200 kilowatts. So 400 kilowatts at this charging site. But each of these cabinets can only peak at 200 kilowatts. And it really doesn't matter if each of these cabinets has 4 times 50 kilowatt modules, 2 times 100, or 1 times 200. The fact that this is installed here with the power modules and this is installed here with the power modules means that you are reserving 200 kilowatts here and 200 kilowatts here from the power company that supplies power to this charging site. You cannot move power between these two. And that means if you're connected with, for example, a car that only requires 50 kilowatts or peaks at 50 kilowatts, then you have 150 kilowatts here that's still reserved that you can't move around. So if you have a car here that requires maybe 200 kilowatts, it's going to get 200 kilowatts, but it won't get 250 or 300 kilowatts if you have a car that can charge faster. And the more of these you have at a charging location, say you have 4 or 6 or 8, the more inefficient this charging site becomes, the more power is just reserved that you cannot use. And this is why the Kempower chargers are so unique. So first off, you have the power module here. And let's say for the sake of argument that this contains the same as these two. So you have 400 kilowatts. So that means you have 8 50 kilowatt modules, as we saw. So you have 2 of these cabinets we saw at the factory in Lahti. And then you have 4 dispensers. And the beauty about this is that this has reserved the power from the power company. So 400 kilowatts is reserved, but because of the technology in this power module, in this cabinet, it can allocate the power needed to each of these satellites. And that is super unique. And that means this is much more efficient. So say you park a car here that only peaks at 50 kilowatts, you're going to reserve 50 kilowatts here, but that means you have 350 kilowatts you can allocate to these other charging satellites. So you can connect the car here that can take 200, and then you can have another car here at 50, another car at 100, and then you're using 100% of the power. And it can step up, it can step down. So as this car starts to charge and starts to require less and less charge, the battery gets fuller, it can allocate power to the other chargers. And this makes the Kempower charging station so unique with their satellite systems. On the back end, Kempower has a cloud-based service called ChargeEye, which lets them monitor and remotely service and fix issues with their chargers and charging sites. I talked about this in another video from my visit at Kempower, which I will link down below. I'd recommend you guys to check it out because it is actually very interesting. Along with them being very efficient and more versatile for the user, they've also proven to be very reliable. I have close to 200 videos here on the channel where I charge EVs, and I can't remember one instance where a Kempower charger wouldn't work. Well, except for this one time I tried charging an Audi e-tron S, but that turned out to be a problem with the car, a problem that Kempower discovered through their ChargeEye monitoring system.